We're not talking about late buses or crowded trains today. No, this is a curated collection of grievances that transcend logic itself. We are about to showcase 55 formal complaints against public transport that are so baffling, so profoundly absurd, they belong in a modern art museum. Prepare for a journey into the minds of people who operate on a completely different plane of reality. 1. A commuter in Portland had a serious problem with a tree. Specifically, the tree that her bus stop was located under. Her complaint detailed how local birds use this tree as a perch and, consequently, as a restroom. She demanded the city either cut down the offending foliage or, alternatively, provide a complimentary umbrella stand at the stop for passengers to use during their wait. So what's the better solution here? Get rid of a beautiful tree, or just learn to look up? 2. A complaint was filed in Denver against a bus driver for having a boring face. The passenger wrote that the driver's complete lack of expression made the entire journey feel dystopian and bleak. They requested that drivers be trained to smile more, or at the very least be instructed to look more interesting to enhance the passenger experience. Imagine that being a line item in your next performance review. Needs to improve face? 3. Picture this. A man in San Francisco, balancing a $7 oat milk latte, is on his phone when the bus pulls away from the curb. A tiny bit of foam splashes onto his jacket. His complaint wasn't about reckless driving. No, he accused the driver of failing to account for the delicate physics of his morning beverage. He demanded the transit authority pay his dry cleaning bill and train drivers on smoother acceleration profiles for artisan coffee drinkers. Honestly, who do you think is in the wrong here? The driver or the guy treating a moving bus like a quiet cafe? 4. A commuter in a quiet suburb of Sacramento was infuriated when his bus came to a complete stop in the middle of the road. The reason for the delay wasn't traffic or a breakdown. The driver had stopped to let a family of ducks waddle across the street. The 30-second delay was apparently too much for this passenger to bear. His complaint stated that animal welfare should not take precedence over a strict, taxpayer-funded timetable, and that the driver should have honked to assert dominance. 5. A passenger on a late-night bus in Los Angeles filed a complaint because someone had left a single perfectly good slice of pizza on an empty seat. His complaint wasn't about cleanliness or waste. He was upset because the sight of the abandoned, lonely pizza was a heartbreakingly tragic tableau that made him profoundly sad. He argued that the driver should have either found the pizza's owner or given it a proper, dignified disposal, instead of leaving it there to remind everyone of loss and shattered dreams. 6. Ever get annoyed that your bus has to stop for other people? Well, one commuter in Portland was so enraged by this fundamental aspect of public transit that he wrote a formal complaint. He stated the bus service was unacceptably inefficient because the driver kept stopping to let other people on and off, which was making him late for his very important job. He was, in essence, complaining that the public bus was being used by the public. The irony was apparently lost on him. 7. A commuter in New York City was deeply offended by the advertisements inside the subway car. His complaint stated that the ads for luxury watches and high-powered law firms were a form of economic taunting that made him feel inadequate about his own financial situation. He demanded that the MTA implement an ad policy based on the average income of its ridership, suggesting ads for budget grocery stores and affordable streaming services would be more emotionally responsible. So, should public ads cater to our feelings, or is this just next-level entitlement? 8. On a commuter train in Washington, D.C., a passenger complained about the free newspaper provided on board. The problem wasn't the news, which they admitted they didn't read. The problem was that the daily crossword puzzle was too difficult. They claimed that starting their morning by failing to solve the puzzle was detrimental to their confidence and set a negative tone for their entire workday. They demanded the paper switch to a simpler, more ego-boosting puzzle. 9. During a sweltering August in Miami, A complaint was lodged that the bus's air conditioning was working too well, but it wasn't because the passenger was cold. The issue was that the powerful AC was making the metal support poles uncomfortably chilly to the touch. The passenger suggested the transit authority should install little knitted sweaters on all the poles for better grip and comfort during the summer months. Let's be real. Is this the dumbest complaint so far? Or is this person secretly a genius? 10. A woman in Chicago lodged a formal complaint after a bus driver refused to let her board with her full-grown pet goat. Now, this wasn't just any goat. She insisted that Gary the goat was her certified emotional support animal. The driver, probably questioning every life choice that led him to this moment, pointed to the mess Gary was already making on the sidewalk and suggested that a crowded city bus wasn't the right environment for livestock. The woman's complaint accused the driver of being speciesist. 11. A passenger in Phoenix, Arizona, filed a complaint that their daily bus route was too predictable. They argued that taking the exact same streets to work every single day was stifling their spirit of adventure. Their proposed solution: the driver should occasionally take scenic detours, or even just randomly turn left sometimes, to keep things fresh and exciting for the regulars. Because what every commuter wants on their way to work is an unscheduled, citywide mystery tour. 12. In Austin, Texas, a man tried to pay his bus fare by offering to sing the driver a song. When the driver, unsurprisingly, insisted on actual money, the man became indignant. His official complaint stated that the transit system was hostile to the arts and failed to recognize alternative forms of currency, like pure talent. He argued that his performance was worth far more than the $2 fare, and the driver's refusal was a personal insult to his burgeoning music career. 13. A tourist riding the Las Vegas Deuce bus complained that the windows were too large. Let me repeat that. The windows, designed for sightseeing on the Vegas Strip, were overwhelming and let in too much reality at once. They suggested that the bus company should install smaller, more intimate porthole-style windows so that the spectacle of Las Vegas could be consumed in more digestible cinematic frames. They were essentially asking for a less effective window. 14. A woman in a sprawling Atlanta suburb complained that her bus driver sped past her house without stopping. The thing is, her house wasn't a designated bus stop. It was just her house. She argued that the driver should have seen her standing on her lawn and known she needed a ride. In her complaint, she accused the driver of a shocking lack of intuition and demanded that the bus route be personally tailored to her daily schedule with a new private stop created on her driveway. 15. In Salt Lake City, a passenger became deeply concerned about the number of his bus route, 666. He wrote a passionate complaint stating that he was being forced to ride the bus of the beast to his orthodontist appointment, which was causing him significant spiritual duress. He insisted that the route be immediately renumbered to something more numerologically positive, suggesting 777 as a holier alternative. 16. In Dallas, a rider submitted a complaint that the DART light rail was too smooth. They lamented that modern engineering had robbed the train of its classic, romantic sway. The passenger felt the stable, efficient ride was soulless, and that the train should be modified to gently rock back and forth, providing a more nostalgic and soothing experience, even if it meant sacrificing speed and safety. You know, for the vibes. 17. A rider in Seattle, a city known for its rain, complained about the sound the rain made on the roof of the bus. They described the gentle pitter-patter as melancholy and emotionally manipulative, claiming it was making them feel sad on their way to work. Their official request was for the transit authority to install sound-dampening insulation on the roofs of the entire fleet to create a more emotionally neutral and uplifting auditory environment during inclement weather. 18. A passenger complained because the person sitting next to them was reading a book with a sad ending. They didn't read the book themselves. They just happened to overhear the reader quietly sniffling, who then explained the tragic plot. The complainant insisted that the transit authority should implement a policy against reading emotionally distressing literature in public, as it was negatively impacting the ambiance of the bus and ruining their otherwise cheerful commute. 19. Here's a weird one. Someone complained that the bench at their bus stop was facing the wrong way. It faced the street, forcing them to look at oncoming traffic, which they found uninspired and stressful. They formally requested that the city come out and physically turn the bench 180 degrees so it would face a large, windowless brick wall instead. They argued the wall offered a more minimalist and meditative viewing experience while waiting. Would you rather stare at cars or a brick wall? Let me know in the comments. Me know. 20. A tourist in historic Charleston, South Carolina, was deeply disappointed with her bus driver. Her complaint wasn't about his driving, but his failure to act as a personal tour guide. She was outraged that as they drove past centuries-old mansions and historic landmarks, the driver remained completely silent, focusing only on the road. She argued that all drivers on scenic routes should be required to provide running commentary and historical fun facts as part of the standard fare. Is it a driver's job to be a tour guide, or should this tourist have just bought a ticket for an actual tour bus? 21. The concept of gravity itself was once the subject of a formal complaint in New Orleans. A passenger who dropped his brand new phone on a moving streetcar was furious that the floor was so, well, hard. His complaint argued that the transit authority had a duty to protect passengers from their own clumsiness. His proposed solution: they should install floors made from a shock-absorbent, trampoline-like material to protect personal belongings from the basic laws of physics. 22. A tourist in New York City filed a complaint that the subway's view was too repetitive and boring. They were genuinely upset that the underground train system, which they noted was mostly dark tunnels, didn't offer a panoramic tour of the city skyline. They suggested that windows could be replaced with high-definition screens showing what the city looks like above ground. You know, to make the experience of being in a tunnel feel less like being in a tunnel. 23. In a wild twist, a passenger on a long-distance bus route through rural Nevada complained that the bus was too empty. She felt the lack of other passengers was unsettling and created a lonely, post-apocalyptic atmosphere. In her official feedback, she suggested that on less popular routes, the company should hire actors to sit on the bus and pretend to be passengers, just to create a more lively and communal ambiance. 24. Safety instructions are there for a reason, but one Chicago train rider found them to be a personal affront. He complained that the red and white emergency exit window decal was aggressively designed and aesthetically displeasing. He hadn't been in an emergency, he just didn't like looking at it. His suggestion was to replace the clear, life-saving instructions with an elegant QR code that would link to an instructional modern dance video demonstrating how to open the window. 25. Someone on a late-night Amtrak from Philadelphia to DC took issue with the dining car's culinary standards. After ordering a microwaved cheeseburger, he filed a complaint that it was not served with a suitable gourmet dipping sauce. He wasn't asking for ketchup or mustard. He was genuinely outraged that his $5 snack car burger didn't come with a side of garlic aioli or a chipotle reduction, describing the whole experience as a journey through a culinary wasteland. 26. This is a new level of sensory conflict. A passenger in San Francisco filed a complaint against his driver's personal choice of air freshener, one of those little pine trees hanging from the rearview mirror. The passenger claimed the aggressive and artificial pine scent was clashing with his own expensive, custom-blended cologne. He wrote that this olfactory warfare was giving him a headache and demanded a new policy that only permitted unscented or hypoallergenic personal items for drivers. 27. In Denver, a nightly commuter took issue not with the service but with her own reflection. She filed a complaint stating that the bus window, once it got dark outside, acted like a mirror. The problem? The harsh overhead fluorescent lighting created an unflattering and brutally honest reflection of her face. She claimed this nightly confrontation with her tired-looking pores was damaging her self-esteem. Her proposed solution was for the city to invest in what she called complementary filter glass, a special type of window that would provide a softer, more Instagram-worthy reflection for all passengers after sunset. 28. This one goes deep. A philosophy student at UC Berkeley filed an existential complaint against the local transit system. He argued that riding the same circular bus route every day was a perfect and horrifying metaphor for the meaningless futility of the human condition. He wasn't seeking a refund. He was demanding that the transit authority acknowledge the Sisyphean despair of their routes and perhaps offer onboard therapists to help passengers cope. 29. This one is a masterclass in pettiness. A passenger on a commuter train into New York City filed a complaint against another passenger for knitting. Not for talking, not for making a mess, but for knitting. She claimed the constant rhythmic clicking of the needles was a form of auditory harassment, and the knitter's serene focus was a passive-aggressive display of superiority. So, I have to ask, who's the real menace on public transit? The quiet knitter or the person complaining about them? 30. A tourist on a scenic ferry ride in Seattle was appalled by the local wildlife, specifically the seagulls. Her complaint stated the gulls flying alongside the boat were unprofessionally loud, and their constant squawking was ruining the serene maritime ambiance. She earnestly suggested that the ferry company should invest in some form of seagull silencing technology, or perhaps offer training to teach them proper etiquette in the presence of paying customers. 31. In the artistically inclined city of Santa Fe, New Mexico, a passenger filed a complaint against the sound the bus makes when someone requests a stop. They described the standard ding as abrupt and creatively stifling. This individual claimed the harsh sound frequently interrupted their meditative state and derailed their train of thought. Their solution was to replace the bell with a series of soothing, harmonious chimes, perhaps even allowing passengers to vote on a new Sound of the Month. 32. A rider in Tampa, Florida, lodged a formal complaint against his bus driver for failing to control the sun. Every afternoon, the sun would align perfectly with his window, creating a powerful glare for about 15 minutes. The complaint accused the driver of being negligent in their navigational duties by continuing to drive directly into the solar path. He suggested the driver should either take an alternate route during that time or simply pull over and wait for the Earth to rotate into a less inconvenient position. 33. Commuting can be a drag, but one writer in Boston found a way to make it all about interior design. He wrote a multi-paragraph complaint about the aggressively ugly color pattern on the train seats. He claimed the hideous maroon and gray swirls were detrimental to his morning creativity and were causing him minor emotional distress. He even attached a few paint swatches of colors he found more soothing and productive, suggesting a soft teal or a calming beige. 34. You can't please everyone even when you're being nice. A passenger in Philadelphia complained that her morning bus driver was excessively cheerful. She described his consistent "good morning" and "have a great day" as inauthentic and emotionally taxing so early in the morning. She requested that the driver be instructed to adopt a more stoic and emotionally neutral demeanor to create a less pressure-filled environment for passengers who were, in her words, not morning people. 35. While standing on a crowded Chicago bus, a man holding a briefcase and a large coffee found himself unable to use the overhead hand straps. His complaint wasn't about the lack of seats, but the antiquated design of the straps themselves. He argued they were discriminatory against the modern multitasking professional. He proposed a futuristic solution, installing a magnetic ceiling strip that would work with specially designed commuter helmets, allowing for a hands-free, stabilized journey. 36. The name of a bus stop became the source of great distress for a rider in Columbus, Ohio. The stop, plainly named Maple Avenue and 5th Street, was deemed unimaginative and spiritually draining. The passenger wrote a 3-page letter demanding it be renamed to something more evocative, like Whispering Woods Crossing or Serenity Station. They even included a list of 50 alternative names, complete with poetic descriptions for each one. 37. In Minneapolis, a city known for its cleanliness, a passenger complained that their bus was too clean. They wrote that the sterile, hospital-like smell of lemon disinfectant was overpowering the authentic, gritty aroma of the urban experience. The complainant genuinely missed the faint, familiar scent of damp raincoats and old newspapers, arguing that the aggressive cleaning schedule was stripping the bus of its character and soul. Is it possible for something to be too clean? Or is this person just looking for a reason to complain? 38. A passenger in Los Angeles filed a complaint that bordered on a conspiracy theory. They were concerned about the person sitting next to them, not because they were loud or disruptive, but because they were unnervingly silent and still. The complainant was convinced this quiet passenger was a highly advanced government android or an alien in disguise, sent to observe human commuting patterns. They filed the complaint as a matter of public safety, urging the transit authority to screen for non-human entities. 39. An aspiring social media influencer in Miami took issue with the city's bus fleet on purely aesthetic grounds. Her complaint stated that the standard white and green color scheme was drab and performed poorly on Instagram. She argued that this was a missed opportunity for brand synergy and suggested repainting the entire fleet in a more vibrant, photogenic color, like millennial pink or vibrant teal, to increase the city's visual appeal to tourists and content creators. 40. You know those automated announcements that say, "Next stop, Main Street"? A passenger on the Seattle light rail complained they were too clear and informative. Their reasoning was that the crystal-clear announcements ruined the sense of mystery and adventure of traveling. They actually said they preferred the old days of muffled, indecipherable squawks from the driver, because it made them feel like they were on an exploration, and they enjoyed the thrill of guessing where to get off. 41. In a city offering free onboard Wi-Fi, a young passenger filed an urgent complaint about the internet speed. This wasn't about slow email or buffering music. No, this was a high-stakes mission. He was furious because the connection's unacceptable ping rate caused him to lose a competitive online gaming match on his phone. He claimed the transit authority was falsely advertising its Wi-Fi, which he believed should be powerful enough for serious professional-level gaming during his 30-minute commute. 42. A fashion-conscious commuter in Washington, D.C. lodged a formal complaint about the iconic Metro map. The problem wasn't clarity or accuracy. The problem was that the map's color scheme, with its bold red, orange, and blue lines, clashed horribly with his autumn wardrobe. He claimed it was visually jarring to look at the map while wearing his earth-toned jackets, and demanded they release a seasonally adjusted, more aesthetically pleasing version of the map. 43. A man in Cleveland was ticketed for blasting music from a speaker on the bus. His complaint wasn't that he was wrongly accused. He proudly admitted it. But he claimed the no loud music rule violated his First Amendment right to free speech. Why? Because the music was his own original SoundCloud rap, which he defined as political performance art. He demanded the ticket be waived and that all buses install a dedicated open mic zone for aspiring artists. 44. Technology can be a wonderful thing, unless it's too good. A writer in San Jose, the heart of Silicon Valley, complained that the real-time bus tracking app was too accurate. He claimed that knowing the bus would arrive in exactly 2 minutes and 45 seconds removed all the thrilling uncertainty from his commute and created unnecessary performance anxiety. He missed the days of just guessing when the bus might show up. 45. Sometimes, even safety is offensive. A daily commuter in Chicago submitted a complaint about the "Watch Your Step" sign printed on the stairs of the bus. They found the sign to be patronizing and an insult to their intelligence and motor skills. They argued that they were a fully grown adult, perfectly capable of navigating a simple step without being told to. The sign, they claimed, created an atmosphere of mistrust and condescension between the passenger and the transit authority. 46. You know those digital signs that display the next stop? A graphic designer in New York City was so offended by the font choice that he wrote a multi-page complaint, complete with diagrams. He lambasted the use of Helvetica, calling it a tired, soulless font that embodies corporate apathy. He argued that the poor kerning, the spacing between letters, was visually jarring and demanded they switch to a more elegant and welcoming font, like Garamond or Futura, to improve the rider experience. 47. A man in a high-end business suit complained that the standard fabric seats on the light rail were too coarse. He claimed the rough industrial-grade texture of the seating was causing micro-abrasions on his $2,000 suit pants, visibly reducing their lifespan. His demand? That the city immediately reupholster all train seats in a gentler, more luxurious material like Alcantara suede or a soft merino wool blend. So, who's the bad guy here? The city for using durable fabric or the guy wearing a designer suit on public transit? 48. In a strange reversal of common courtesy, an elderly woman in St. Petersburg, Florida, filed a complaint against a younger passenger for being too polite. The young man repeatedly offered her his seat, but she was perfectly comfortable standing. She found his persistent offers to be overbearing and patronizing, accusing him of age-based condescension. Her complaint requested that transit authorities train passengers to respect the stated mobility preferences of the elderly and to stop making assumptions. 49. This one feels like it came from another dimension. A rider on a Philadelphia regional rail line complained that the train's horn was unprofessional and childish because it sounded too much like choo-choo. This wasn't about the volume. It was an aesthetic critique. The person suggested they invest in a more corporate and serious-sounding horn, perhaps a respectable ding-dong or a low resonant hum. Because nothing says improving the commute like making a 200-ton vehicle sound like a doorbell. 50. A passenger with a self-proclaimed artistic eye complained that the bus itself was simply too rectangular. He argued that the boring, boxy design of the vehicle was an affront to modern aesthetics and lacked dynamic energy. In his letter, he included several sketches of a sleeker, more aerodynamically inspiring bus, featuring swooping curves and a teardrop shape. He urged the city to consider a more sculptural approach for its future fleet. 51. In Chicago, a daily commuter lodged a formal grievance against his bus driver's impeccably groomed beard. He claimed the artisanal facial hair was a form of psychological warfare, serving as a daily reminder of his own patchy and disappointing attempt, which caused him significant anxiety. His proposed solution was a new grooming policy requiring drivers to maintain a more average and relatable appearance, ensuring no passenger would have to start their day feeling so utterly inadequate. 52. In a city with a simple, grid-based street system, a passenger complained that his bus driver was too good at following the rules. Specifically, the driver refused to make an illegal mid-block U-turn to save the passenger from having to walk an extra 2 blocks. The passenger's complaint accused the driver of rigid, uncreative thinking and a slavish devotion to traffic laws, which caused him what he termed preventable ambulatory distress. 53. A woman in Nashville, the Music City, filed a complaint that the bus engine's hum was off-key. As a musician with perfect pitch, she claimed the low rumbling frequency of the engine was a dissonant F-sharp that was musically offensive and was giving her a tension headache. She suggested that the transit authority's maintenance department should retune their bus engines to a more harmonious and universally pleasing C major chord. 54. A complaint was once filed against the Los Angeles metro system because the bus, and I quote, smelled too much like other people. The complainant was deeply offended that a vehicle packed with dozens of human beings during a 90-degree heat wave smelled like dozens of human beings during a 90-degree heat wave. The sheer audacity of the general public to exist and have sense was apparently grounds for a formal grievance. They demanded better air fresheners, or perhaps a better class of passenger. 55. A complaint from Austin where a geo-vibrational sensitive claimed her bus route was disrupting the city's mystical ley lines. She insisted the heavy vehicle was blocking a major energy meridian, blaming it for everything from bad traffic to political tension. Her solution was to demand the city reroute its entire bus system based on her own hand-drawn map, all to harmonize with the Earth's vibrations and bring about an era of civic peace. And there you have it. 55 dispatches from the front lines of public transit absurdity. From requests for seagull silencers to complaints about the fundamental laws of gravity, these stories prove that when it comes to finding something to complain about, human creativity truly knows no bounds. How often do you use public transport? And is there anything that really annoys you about it? If these tales of transit turmoil made you laugh, question reality, or just feel a little better about your own commute, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the wonderful world of weirdness. Thanks for watching.